looking at the standards? Mostly just not paying attention or participating in the part where you kind of have a discussion. So to me it's really because they worked hard and everyone was there.
So understanding relationships.
So you guys are dissecting the old one and trying to figure out where to go from there?
Kind of. We're just like writing down ideas
okay.
for what we should do.
Yeah, we were thinking about like modernizing it, and we could make Facebook or Twitter pages for each character and have them like communicate.
Sounds good. So, I mean, just so you know, in the context of everything out, 4 and 5, you're going to be making a comic strip, modernizing whatever scene you have, and then making a screencast with like an overlay of your commentary.
So maybe it would be kind of redundant.
Yeah. So I mean, I have no problem with you going a technology route if you don't want to do something in front of a space. As a matter of fact, I think it's a strength in this class, so I could see you wanting to play to that strength. But you just don't want to repeat something you're doing later.
Right.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
No problem. I am. I'm actually already writing about it. It should be on EdWeek tomorrow. That's the plan. So that is actually just the article that you need for class tomorrow. That's not one of the assignments.
So which one is the assignment?
If you go into the folder that I sent, right, that's the one, and you're doing Act 2, there are 2, here's the one for Act 2. So what you need to do first is look at the old one, look at what it's assessing, and then determine if you want to use that one or come up with something different. Okay?
Yeah.
So Act 2, what are you guys thinking so far? You're first looking at the old one?
This is the only one about Act 2 I saw in the folder, so...
I'm a bit confused. Our objective is to make an assignment that will display certain standards, thus proving that we learned the material.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have any examples of the standards you want?
Well, the content that you need to know is in that other assignment that's in there. So that's why you have to look at the old assignment, see what it was assessing, and then determine...
Objective, right?
Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
Got it.
And you're doing Act 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
For your objectives, right? I feel like
You're looking at Act 3,
I
right?
know, yeah.
You are.
So, it seems like this is what you want the performances to be able to present to the audience. Why don't you have the performers perform, and then the viewers have to decide these based on the performance?
If that's how you guys want to do it.
Because I'm thinking, like, both of them could be sort of trimming their performance to sort of emphasize your objectives. And then maybe the performers will have like questions that kind of, or these questions I guess, and they'll have to be given the answers. The questions will be fleshed out.
Okay, well again, like I said, you do have the option to default on what's there already and just adjust it as needed. Okay, so you guys have Act 3, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
So she just made up an idea to make comic strips explaining and showing the scenes using modern English and Shakespeare English.
Okay, that's Act 4 and 5. That is the actual assignment.
Dang it.
That's why I repeated it like 4 times before we got started.
I like your idea.
I
don't mind laughing.
So then what you might want to think about is if we know the issue in the class is the watching part of it, how can we adjust the watching part of it so that the watchers are accountable for what they're watching? How can we increase the engagement and increase the participation of the folks not doing the performance so that they are attending to what's happening in front of them? And if you can come up with a good solution for that, I have no problem sticking with the performance.
Oh, I actually have another question. Are we doing anything like movie-like with it, like to make a
The screencast is it's not a movie because I mean you'll have drawn the comic strip, and essentially then you're gonna do voiceovers to explain what's happening in the comic strip, but no movie.
Okay, so can we do like maybe like a satire?
I wouldn't have a problem with
Would
that.
that be like an
As long as it
acceptable-
meets the objective of the act, I'm good with anything.
Okay.
I have one more question. You keep mentioning 3 books for the paper, but I picked As I Lay Dying, and I just want to make sure like that's still an option because it was on the syllabus,
no, that's fine.
and like I got nervous.
Which one did you As I Lay Dying?
Yeah, and like I've already read more than half the book,
And that one-
and it's due Wednesday, and
Right,
I got really nervous.
and that one also has a very unique narrative because it's broken by different
Yeah.
people's perspectives.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I forgot that I put that one.
Okay, I just have really to say like
Okay.
one thing.
How are we doing over here, Act 3?
Good, I hate everyone's ideas. But I like your acting it out.
Yeah, I think it's because
You jump ship on your own group?
I think it's because the audience, nobody says anything. It's not the project itself, it's the audience.
One sec. So here's my thing, and I just said it to this group as well. I don't have a problem with presentations. However, part of what you need to do then is adjust what the listeners and watchers have to do to ensure that they're accountable for what's happening in front of them. So if you want to keep the performance, which I'd be good with, if you could come up with something alternative for the watchers to be doing to hold them accountable for the hard work that you're putting in to present.
Yeah, because I feel like the group is so like excited to have like a rich conversation after, and everyone's like,
So how do you fix it?
How about we tell the groups, oh, this is what we're doing, like have it like prepared by the date, like give it a week.
Tell them the questions in
Yeah,
advance.
we tell them the question in advance, and they.
So you'd essentially be preparing a lesson then as a group, getting it to the watchers ahead of time,
Yes, so
and then
everybody.
like via emails sharing it out, like this is what you need to come to class prepared with, and we're going to assess what you take away from it. Like how are we going to hold them accountable?
that would. I think the only thing that could go wrong with that is that there's obviously going to be predominant things coming out in each act, and I feel like every group's going to focus on one thing, and then
Well, you're only getting a scene. You're not getting the full act. So each group gets one scene. It would be way too much for everybody to get an act. That's a lot to know. Yeah.
How many?
You don't like the idea of a performance.
How many characters?
No, I don't like the whole like assessing thing.
Well, I mean, that's a challenge because I feel like when I've left it up to the discussion to be a formative sort of discussion around what folks are doing, there are 4 people who are very comfortable sort of participating and everybody else just like gets the glaze. I even have a few sleepers in here. So I know that it's really offensive to me when I see students sleeping when I'm trying to do something, and I can't imagine that when you work really hard, having a classmate sort of put their head down in the middle of your performance doesn't feel great, I imagine. So
Assign a discussion question to each table so everyone participates.
should I assign the questions or should you guys? Because I would be more interested in the discussion you want to have around the text, especially if you're working with the act and the scene itself.
you don't even have to get to each question because if everyone's bouncing off each question, that would be fine as long as everyone's speaking.
Right, so then maybe we need to find a way to be accountable so everyone in the room has to say something.
I feel like even then they'll be like,
Okay, or something that, you know, where maybe some of our reticent folks use Twitter as well, so if they don't, and then one person in the group could kind of man the Twitter while the other is manning the classroom discussion.
I think the problem with having like a few people go on Twitter while discussions going on is that if no one's reading out what people are writing on Twitter, that you're not going to get to their thoughts during the discussion. So like people might look at it when they get home, but like we're not going to address it during the conversation.
So I hear a couple of things that are really important, right? We want to make sure everybody's voices get heard. We want to make sure the conversation addresses everybody's ideas, right? So if you were in my shoes, and you had to make sure everybody was doing something, how do you break down the activity so everyone gets theirs? Remember, think about what I usually do in class when I want more of you to speak. I slow it down. I ask you to write individually, then I ask you to talk in a small group, and then I bring it open to the big group, right? So that everybody has something to say. Even if it isn't their own something, it's somebody else's something from the small group, right? So when you're doing a full class conversation, part of that has to do with making sure everybody has something to say, right? So what you might want to do is adjust and think about what you're doing with those folks who are watching. Someone's out. But that's really what you want to do, because again, I love the performance. It's a play, so it's good. But again, I also want to value the work you're doing in front of the room, and I want everyone to get what they need to get out of it from watching. So
I think I have an idea. Maybe if we give everyone the discussion questions like we said, and then the group could have a laptop up there and like have the Twitter feed like,
and then you could like read it out
and like we could.
Right, so maybe like you said, maybe one of you can man the Twitter feed, one of you can also man what's going on, and then make sure, like assign different roles in the group, who's going to be doing this, who's going to be doing that. I think that sounds good.
Do like Twitter question, like say it to the whole class and then discuss, and then if that one's not going right, there's always a thing.
Sounds good. Write it out.
Every single person has to.
Yep, or speak something. Right. Yep. Write it out. What are we doing here, folks?
Well, Amr took the book of our ideas, but we were thinking, I don't know, the five of us happen to like the plays, like we like performing and like we like watching the performers. So I was thinking my favorite performer to watch is Angelo, so my idea was like a one-woman show based on him reenacting the entire thing. But then Amr, what was your idea? Okay, I think you wanted like the whole class to like work on like a part together, and like, everybody would be like assigned certain.
There aren't enough parts.
That's what I said. I was like.
That's what the groups are kind of large though. When we do Act 3, you have a 7 or 8 person group so that everyone can be reading something.
I'm excited.
So then
that's
again,
what I like.
The challenge is here then, how do you engage the audience? How do you make them accountable? How do you hold them accountable for the parts that they're watching? So I mean, if you want to keep the performance, which again, we could do, how do we hold everyone else accountable?
We should like make it so much more like legit and do it in the auditorium on the stage. Anything on the stage, I feel like it makes me want to watch it more. It's just more, because in the classroom it's like hard to see kind of, and then like some people's groups aren't like always that great.
But that still doesn't necessarily hold them specifically personally responsible for watching and participating in the learning that's happening in front of them. I mean, it would be an improvement if we could get them in there. It might draw their interest and engage them better, but it doesn't make them actively participatory in what's going on, right?
I guess the only way you could do it is like just giving questions after.
Or you can have like, so Shakespeare is written in Old English, like English that a lot of us,
modern English, but it's just early modern English.
But none of us really understand it that well. So we could have the people in the audience, like, let's say like Maddie, for instance, she could pick like 5 people off the top of her, like while sitting on a auditorium, like 5 people are chosen, and then everybody else in the audience has to like take a certain part of the scene and translate it into the English that we understand and we speak every day, and give it to the actors and actresses.
About that idea is that you're doing it with Acts 4 and 5.
We have great minds think alike. This actually.
You're going to actually be making a comic strip with modern language for Acts 4 and 5. So
we should just do it for all of them.
You think? It's not too much?
Yeah. So why don't we just literally, I just translate the whole play. I mean, SparkNotes kind of does that for you. Translates the whole play for you into English.
It's all English. I think you're funny. Try to come up, if you want to keep the performance, that's fine. Just make sure you come up with some kind of activity.
I get what you're hinting at.
Yeah. All right. What's up, Michael?
I just have a question about whether or not this idea seems sound, because we all think it's a pretty decent idea. So, write a 3 to 5 page script in the style of William Shakespeare.
Okay.
And in alignment with the plot and characters of Hamlet, Act 2, illustrate a tale in which 2 alternative methods are performed to find out what's wrong with Hamlet. So,
Right,
in
hold on.
Hamlet,
I need you to say it again.
a little, yeah. So, in Act 2 or Scene 2, they're trying to find out what's wrong with Hamlet, right? Why he's acting so strange, and they come up with 2 methods in which his 2 friends are meant to go and like pull it out of him, and alternatively to eavesdrop on him having a conversation with Ophelia. So I guess in this, again, write a 3 to 5 page script in the style of William Shakespeare, in which the story takes different route, and 2 different methods are performed. So like create your own.
This one is a great idea, but you're doing it. This is the end assessment for
I thought it was just for Act 2.
No, I mean this idea.
Yeah.
Is exactly. You'll be writing a 1-act play,
right?
Based on either the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern play, or like so you'll either write an absurdist play or a Shakespearean one,
right?
With a secondary character. So very similar to what you're talking about, going down a different path.
Right.
You're going to be doing that later. Like that is the end assessment for the entire unit.
All right.
So I mean, you could do a modified, smaller version of it for just Act 2, which could be a really great precursor.
Yeah,
for what
like a
comes
preparatory
later.
assignment.
Right.
So
you might want to look in the folder
maybe,
at the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern 1-act play, and see how you could modify it to work just for Act 2.
Okay, well that's what I meant. So in Act 2, they come up with their 2 methods, and that's why I figured, like, illustrate your own, using the same characters.
Okay.
Like, what else could, like, 2 other methods, as opposed to the 2 friends going up to him.
Would you be working alone to do that, or would it be an
independent writing assignment.
Okay. And we spend class time doing it?
I don't know, that's just the basic idea.
Okay.
So we can work on that?
Yes. Alright, so it seems that you have some good ideas.